Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to learn about two very important NumPy function, Arange and Linspace function. Both of these functions help us create number sequences, but they work in slightly different ways. One uses a fixed step size and the other creates evenly spaced number between two values. If you are learning NumPy or data science, this is something you really need to understand clearly. So let's get started and break it down in a very simple way. Let's start with arrange function. The word arrange means arrange. It creates number in a sequence with a given range. Let's start with basic simple syntax. The basic syntax is here: np.arrange, start, stop, step, and data type. Let's break down the syntax. It can take 4 arguments, but we will mostly use the first 3 elements. Now let's start with a simple basic example. Now let's run the code and see what happened. Notice that two things are here. First, it started 0, not 1. And second, it stops before it hits 5 because the stop value is exclusive and it is never included in the result. Now let's start with the start and stop. But usually you don't want to start at 0, so you can give it two numbers, a start and a stop. Let's take an example. Here we are telling NumPy start at 5 and goes up to, but not including 11. Now let's run the code. Now we take the step value, which is the third argument in a range function, which tells us the gap between the numbers. Now let's add a step value. Now let's run the code. See that, notice it grabs 5, adds 2 and adds 2 again and keep going until it hits the limit. Since the next number should be 15 and the limit is exclusive, so it stops at 13. We can also go backwards using the negative steps. Now let's run the code. Remember, your start needs to be bigger than your stop when using a negative steps. Now the fourth argument is data type. Sometimes now you want to control the output is integers or floats. Let's take an example. This is more useful for saving memories in large arrays or for a specific library requirement. Now let's move on the next function, linspace. Now let's talk about linspace function. The word linspace means linear space. It creates numbers that are evenly spaced between two values. Now let's start. Linspace is one of the most important functions in NumPy when working with number sequences, graphs, and data science. So let's start from basics. Linspace is used to create evenly spaced numbers between two values. The most important thing is here, you decide how many numbers whatever you want, and NumPy automatically calculates the spacing. That's a key difference from a range function. Now the basic syntax is here. Let's understand each parameter clearly. First two parameters, start and stop, both are same as a range function, but the third parameter is here number, means total number of value whatever you want, which is replaced with step size. And very important thing is here, by default the stop value is included. Let's start with basic example. First we will import NumPy. Now let's take a variable y, space start value is 1, stop value is 10, and total number of values is 5, whatever we want. Now print y. Now let's see. Start with 1 and the stop value is 10 and total numbers is 5, whatever we want. Here NumPy divides the interval between 1 and 10 into 4 equal gaps to create 5 evenly spaced values. So space is calculated automatically. So here you don't give the step size because NumPy figure it out automatically. How spacing is calculated here? So look at this picture. So numbers increases by 2.2 each time. That's why the output is evenly spaced. Now let's take another example where including endpoint z is equal to, now print the z. Now notice here the last value will be exactly the same as the stop value, means 100, because the endpoint is included by default. Linspace has a parameter which is called endpoint. By default, it is true. That means the stop value is included. But if we set the endpoint is false, let's check. Now look, now 100 will not appear in the output. Instead, NumPy divides the interval differently to give 5 evenly spaced values before reaching stop value 100. Now look at this picture. How spacing is calculated when endpoint is false. Now how to plot a simple graph using Linspace. Let's take an example. First we will import NumPy and Matplotlib library. Now here we import two libraries, NumPy and Matplotlib. NumPy will create the data and Matplotlib will plot the graph. For this equation y is equal to x square. Now create the x values using the Linspace. Start value is minus 10 and stop value is 10 and number of values 100. So NumPy creates 100 evenly spaced number between minus 10 and 10. It will provide us smooth graph points. Now we apply the formula y is equal to x square. NumPy automatically squares easily value of x. Here no loop is needed, so this is called vectorized operation. Now plot the graph. You will see a smooth curve of y is equal to x square. If you want to give the title name, now look at this. Why Linspace is perfect here? Because if we had only 5 or 10 points, the graph would look like as a rough. Now let's see. We provide 10 points. Now look, graph look like as a rough points. This graph is not a smooth if we provide, but because we use 100 evenly spaced value, the curve looks smooth. That's why Linspace is widely used in graph plotting, machine learning, mathematics, and simulations. Today we have learned arrange and linspace function. Arrange control the step size and linspace control the number of values. If this helped you understand clearly, please like, subscribe and share. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.